What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Mint City Soccer Show. I'm Corey Inscoe, opening the show for the first time in a long time, and I felt very rusty doing that. I was like worried I was going to say the wrong name or just do something really crazy, but I'm happy to be here. Happy to have us back behind the mic for another episode of the Soccer Show. Matt, how's it going?
It's going well, man, and I thought you did great.
Thank you. It's like I said, did it a lot of times, and I handed it over to you and David to run with it. So it's fun to be doing this. I'm here as always with Matt Swift, our co-host. David can't make it tonight, unfortunately. He may be watching and chiming in on the chat. He may have sent in a question ahead of time, so I'm sure he'll be a part of this stream in his own way. But for right now, on camera and on the mic, it's just me and Matt tonight.
Yeah, I think he's down in. Is he in Orlando?
I was confused. He mentioned multiple cities he was going to this evening, so he's somewhere.
No doubt eating a corn dog.
Or eating a corn dog, maybe opening some packs of cards. I don't know what he's up to, but yeah. So he's not with us tonight. But we do have a special guest. I said it was just the two of us, but I lied. So we have a special guest waiting in the wings for us here. That's going to help us open up the show.
Yeah, that's right. So our man from Philly joining us again, José Nuñez. Jose, welcome back, my man.
Hey, how are you guys? I'm 99% sure that David is probably in a rental car with a corn dog on his right hand, left hand, 6 o'clock or whatever, 9 o'clock on the wheel, just driving down Orlando, finding his nearest spot to open up card packs. But no, I'm so happy to be here. So happy that Tommy Wilson has finally landed with you guys. What an incredible piece of news and in development for ownership that wants to truly spend.
Yeah. No, it's funny, yeah, because of course that's why you're on, because you were the one that broke this story. And I hope you don't mind me saying this, because I think it's kind of funny. So you always do your due diligence, which I really appreciate about you. You don't post stuff just for clicks. Like, you do your research, you get sources. When this first came out, we've become friends, and you reached out to Gus and I like, hey, here's what I'm hearing. Are you hearing anything on your side? And it was kind of awkward, because it was like, hey, I'm hearing that Tommy's going to be the technical director for Charlotte FC. I was like, oh, well, I just spoke to our technical director this morning to have him on the show. And spoiler alert, we're going to have Bobby Blair on the show pretty soon. So I just talked to him, and then you hit me up with that. I'm like, I'm pretty sure he's not going anywhere. And then my wheels started turning. I was like, oh my God, what if he's getting fired and he doesn't know it? But I was like, no, Bobby's great. Like, he's a good guy. I don't think he's done anything. But yeah, and we had some back and forth, and come to find out, Tommy is coming on as the technical director. Bobby is getting a title change. Not a ton of stuff is really changing there, but I thought that was pretty hilarious. And what weird timing, because I literally had just talked to him, and then you hit me with that news. So it was wild.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I officially posted after working through my sources and making sure they were solid, right? Because something of that magnitude, one like Tommy Wilson, who has coached the Scottish national team, has coached at Rangers, that Football Association for as long as he has been. It's you don't want to mess that one up. You don't want to mess any story, but certainly not that one. Once I got that all sorted out, I reached out to David and you and said, hey, what can I give you a call quick? This is what I'm hearing. I just want to make sure, because I know that Matt, you and David are not you guys don't cater to the team. You guys are critical. You guys are thoughtful about the way you cover the team and give credit when it's due, but also are willing to talk about it when it's difficult as well. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just talking to a podcast or somebody that caters to the team, right? Access journalism, or whatever you want to call it, right? That you only speak nicely about the team. So when I reached out to David, I said, hey, this sounds crazy, and frankly, I'm amazed to this date that how open your team's leadership is in talking with podcast and fan bases and journalists, and maybe that's a result of only being 3 years old and having to still, I hate to say find relevance, but you have so many sporting teams in that area. But after talking to David and knowing the connections that you all have within that team, it's like, let's double check, because this is pretty big, and the back and forth. And I think for a second, genuinely, I felt for a second you guys didn't believe me. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? We have Bobby, and I'm thinking to myself, this is solid. This is going up. Be ready. I don't know what you guys want to do about it, but be ready.
You were very serious about it. I was like, he was like, you were like, no, this is happening, and I'm like, are you sure it's that title? Because I was like, okay, all right, maybe he's coming, but maybe it's a different title. And they were going back and forth about that, so I thought it was pretty funny. So
no, it's fascinating.
Well, let me ask you this: what can, because you know Tommy really well, what can we expect from him? How does this benefit Charlotte FC?
So let me just be very clear. I actually have never talked to Tommy. I have put in requests over the last that freaked me out. Sorry, am I on a big screen now?
You are.
All right,
you are solo and son.
That's totally fine. I've never talked to Tommy actually, so I have requested time with him as my reporting went out, and trying to find some time through the right channels, right, using the media, PR, contacts at the union. I don't want to skip any flagpoles per se. So once I asked for those, I never heard back, and that's totally fine. The move was actually, done and sealed at that point. He was already saying his goodbyes. In fact, my understanding is that on MLK Day, that Monday the 15th, is when the internal announcement was made, which I beat by 3 days, which is kind of fascinating. Makes it kind of awkward, right? You have a lot of these union academy employees who are like, yo, what the hell is this Jose guy talking about? Tom's leaving. And then, fast forward to Monday, MLK Day, the announcement comes out, at least is my understanding. But one way to say, I think in terms of Tommy, it's no secret. You can visit his website, TommyWilson.com or TommyWilsonSoccer.com. He's actually kind enough to list his resume within it if you really want to look at it. But he is a very talented individual who knows how to do a lot with very little. My understanding is that the budget for the academy at one point was $8 million for the entire year. And he's producing talent like the Aronson brothers and the Mark McKenzies out at Genk. And anybody after 2013. So in terms of what you are all getting is someone with the know-how and identification skills, and someone who knows how to build a team to make him better and make the organization better, but with the Tepper money behind him, right? Someone who maybe will benefit from having that backing, which maybe he didn't see too much of in terms of the ownership group here in Philadelphia. But ultimately, I think overall, this is a magnificent get by your leadership in Charlotte in terms of Tepper. Is it Joey LeBlue?
Joe LeBlue.
LeBooth, sorry. Which within I selfishly plug. I have.
I'm going to start calling him Joey though. Joey.
Joey. Yeah. Joe LeBoo on a different podcast had more or less, and thank you to them for letting me ask the question, but like confirmed is like, we're trying to figure out a pathway for this dense area of talent in the Carolinas to become pros, to create our own talent, which is something that, you all are getting such a head start compared to Philadelphia.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Cause let me ask you about this, with that appointment, and then we can get into our coach too. There's lots of MLS experience, and I think that's something that we as a team have lacked. Why do you think that is important? Let me ask you two questions. Why do you think that is important? And then, of course, as you see on my nameplate here, stop freaking out. Everybody's freaking out about player signings. Why is it important that we have the MLS experience with Tommy, and also to building that pipeline where we don't have to sign so many players? Why is that important?
Well, it's very important for many different reasons, right? And I'm not here to praise the union too much, but when you get into a situation where the Union, who are typically at the bottom of the poll in terms of spending on a yearly basis,
That's right.
but continue to be the leaders in points accumulated, which doesn't necessarily signify success. Obviously, that means, success to me means silverware in a league like the MLS, right? Versus being in the Premiership or really anywhere in Europe where you actually have to, be top of the league, which the Union would be if you add the points over the past 5 years.
Yeah.
So having that type of consistency over the past 5 years and doing it on a shoestring budget is mainly or mostly due to the fact that the Union have created talent like Quinn Sullivan, Jack McGlynn, not so much Matt Real, but the Aronson brothers, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, who's out at Sheffield. So being able to utilize the homegrown mechanism and not taking those budget hits in terms of a roster building is also a fantastic way that someone like Tommy can come in and say, here's the pathway. Let's build a runway. So when we're building this roster, we can really maximize every single dollar and every single cent that will make up this roster, rather than going out into the European market. And for God's sakes, Matt, your coach, Dean, who I think is going to be fantastic, very open during the media day to say, I don't even know the MLS rules. I don't know the MLS roster rules, which is
I don't know if anyone actually knows the MLS rules, but yeah, I know he was very candid, which I do appreciate about him.
So having someone like Tommy who has the understanding of identifying, qualifying, discarding of talent that maybe was apparent early on, but as the players develop, maybe it's not shaking out, discarding talent before pushing it along, finding a way to sign that talent and getting it on the field, which he has done in many, many times. And Nate Harriel, Jack McGlynn, Quinn Sullivan, Brendan Craig, who was just on trial out at Everton. Who knows what's going to happen with that? He has done it in terms of building that pathway. Now it's your turn in terms of Charlotte to really maximize every single body that makes up that population and finding the next best thing. And again, that's not to say that the Academy of the Union have not gone outside of their perimeter to bring players or entice players. You don't have to look much further than the Zambrano brothers, one who left after 1 year to go to Benfica, and now he just signed with a different Portuguese side on a free type of transaction. So it's overall, Tommy's just gonna be, I think, an incredible get for you. And if your fans don't understand how important this is, it is such a shame, because this is an incredible move for all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I everybody that knows me knows I get pretty frustrated about some of the complaining and freaking out. But I will say we have a lot of new fans. We have a lot of fans that MLS is new to them. So I try to have a little bit of like grace with some of it. But I'm glad you brought up the spending, because that's another thing, because we have a super wealthy owner that they think that, oh, Tepper can just spend and that's going to mean wins, when it doesn't at all. And I think Philly is a perfect example of, instead of overspending, you're building a pipeline of folks that can move up through the first team, or you have trade assets. You have people that you can move on for certain things to help you with. So I think it's an amazing get myself. I'm super pumped. I'm glad Bobby's not going anywhere. I'm glad we got that all clarified. Anything else about him that we should know, or maybe the types of players that he produces? Any like specifics around style of play, or style of player, I should say?
Gosh, that's so difficult, right? Because I think as you know, in soccer, listen, the American mindset of being the biggest, fastest, strongest isn't always the way, right? Think about the league's MVP last year, right, out of Cincinnati. Guy is like 5'3", 5'4", right? And obviously not the tallest, not the biggest, not the strongest, not the fastest, but went ahead and got himself the MVP. So when it comes to the profile, physicality is obviously different by position, and if they have it, great. The Union currently, with someone like Neil Pierre, who is 6'6" or something like that, he is gigantic, playing center back right now with the first team out of the Union Academy and Union 2. But in terms of what you can expect from Tommy, it's just extremely gifted players who can do it in terms of on the field, technically and tactically, right? Thinking 3 steps ahead as I think of a Jack McGlynn or a Nate Harriel, right? Nate Harriel is an unbelievable athlete, but I don't think he gets enough credit for the mental side, or the soccer IQ, I think is the term that everybody uses, right? Of knowing where to be or when to be there, when to attack, when not to attack, when to go forward. Or at Jack McGlynn, right? Finding those passes, finding the space, penetrating through, having just made his first, earning his first cap for the U.S. national team against Slovenia. So I think it's wide ranging, but ultimately it's just, I hate to say cost saving. And I guess I also want to clarify, Tommy, I think doesn't go without, I don't want to say criticism, but there's obviously a lot of criticism in terms of the union of not spending, right?
Right.
I just reported today 11th in the league in terms of franchise value, but bottom in terms of spending. Never mind revenue being pretty high up in terms of like certainly the top 15, if I recall, and on a steady path of growth, but still at the very bottom of spending. So a lot of that comes from having someone like Tommy creating the talent that's not making you have to spend.
Yeah, I actually I think Charlotte FC we were 12th on that list. We were like literally right behind you, and we're not known for a team that spends a lot, which has kind of been a criticism. So I think there's definitely some parallels. But one of the things, and you said, is like I feel like we're getting a pretty good head start on this. We have the academy set up. We have Crown Legacy set up, and we're going to get into this later about some roster needs. We have people that are already able to step up and get into the first team. We saw that last season, and now we're going to have this again this season. So I think it's just going to be a continuous thing. So I'm very excited about that, and I don't think people really are grasping that yet, like how significant that is.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, as I'm hearing from sources too, that Mr. Wilson may have made some phone calls to try to draw some people who were maybe formerly of the Philadelphia Union organization, reaching out to some folks who maybe have been under him, maybe figuring out ways to convince folks. I don't know if he's been successful. I don't know how many people he has done this for, but ultimately interested in bringing his method, the way he does it into Charlotte. I'm just really intrigued onto running an academy is like an octopus, right? You have many different pieces moving at all times with the different teams, different coaches, different needs, etc. And that's its own monster. But running an entire franchise as a technical director, that has to be just as much, if not worse. So I'm intrigued onto how those other added pieces fall into the way that Tommy works. Not to say that he's not reasonably ready for it. Obviously, the guy has so much experience, having done what he's done with the Scottish Football Association. It's just, how does that translate to the American system and the crazy restraints that often fall into the category of archaic that the league has? So I'm really intrigued to see how this experiment goes. But ultimately, worst comes to worst, you guys give it a shot. Absolutely the worst scenario, the Union don't have him anymore, but are in good hands with someone like John Shear, who just stepped up, having been the director of scouting for the Union, taking an interim role right now with the academy as the director.
Okay. Yeah. I know you're busy because you were literally, when you joined, you were on your phone looking at some breaking news. But before I let you go, I wanna get your thoughts on our new, they call it a associate head coach, which I think is a hilarious title. But our assistant coach, Miles Joseph, who has a ton of MLS experience. What are your thoughts on him, or do you have any?
I think that the Portland job continues to get more and more difficult out there for it's Neville, right? Yeah, Neville, who's out there now, having left or departed Miami. It's interesting. I think having more of this MLS experiences can only help, right? I think was it Zoran who was on your podcast? I remember texting you guys like 17 different questions or notes about that podcast, and thinking to myself, gosh, to build a team in the pandemic was crazy, and you all did it despite having to take, an additional year to actually launch it. But nonetheless, I think having more faces within the franchise that have the experience of, again, this league that falls into the sub 30 years of life length, I think, or so. I don't think it's beyond 30 years at this point. I could be wrong, and more than happy to be corrected by super producer who's in the background. But like having more people who know the system, who know the ins and outs, and next year the budget increases, but TAM decreases, but you get more GAM. It's like having someone who actually knows that and knows how to work that as a coach and understands the travel, which maybe was also very interesting for someone like Zoran or was it Latanzio was the old coach, right?
Yeah.
Having someone who understands that type of travel is just, because Dean, I think, would be very, very hard pressed to really comprehend what it means to go from Charlotte to the West Coast and then maybe have a West Coast, an East Coast game, never mind Leagues Cup, all in between.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, because the three coaches that we've had, they've had little to no MLS experience. But with Miles, he was an assistant at Real Salt Lake from 2010 to 2014. He was assistant at NYCFC for a year, and then I think 2 years at Orlando City, and then from 2018 to 2023, he was with Portland. So tons and tons of experience. He went to Clemson. So I'm sure Bobby Blair had something to do with maybe getting him here too. So
listen,
I think it's all good stuff.
Even to that point of the New York, you mentioned New York City connection there, working with a young franchise and getting a franchise over the hump, right? Thinking of that 2021 Cup that New York City got, obviously the to me, infamous 2021 Eastern Conference Final against the Union, who were down, I think, 11 players due to COVID issues, and having to throw a B side, maybe even C side, and only losing by 1 goal. He knows how to get through the hump and win, having won it at Portland, ironically, that year. Someone who knows how to win in this league is just so valuable. And I think that having him in the ranks for you all is also going to help. And I'm just, honestly, I can't tell you how happy I am for Charlotte, right? Ownership that wants to win, is willing to spend to win. It may not seem so in the transfer market right now, but ultimately making the different changes in the pyramid in terms of leadership that will eventually and hopefully quickly lead to victories, and hopefully you all earning some silverware soon.
I love you, Jose. Thank you so much. Stop freaking out, everybody. Listen to Jose. He's been through this. He knows what he's talking about. But I'll let you go. Like I said, I know, like, when you first got on, you were on your phone, like, looking at breaking news. Go break some more. We really, really appreciate you. And anytime you want to come on, man, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited for when coffee in the morning before games come up, because that's honestly a small routine for me, where I put one earbud in. Kids are watching television in the morning, Ninja Turtles or whatever, and I'm just eating oatmeal or doing something and listening to you all. So if anything, Charlotte fan base has been incredibly kind, followed me on Twitter, shared my content. I can't thank you all enough. And I think in May, which I think it's late May, I'm working on being there for the game there, the Union against Charlotte. So hopefully I'm able to be there with all of you and meet you all in person. You all have been entirely too kind, and thank you so much.
Well, thank you. We look forward to having you down here.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, man. See you, buddy.
See ya. Bye, Corey.
Yep. Awesome.
Oh, man, that was
So
good. Yeah. Voice of reason.
Yeah, I must have all the good feelings now. All of my negative feelings about leading up to the season are gone. We just need him to come in here and make us feel good about things every week. How about that?
It's good to have a different perspective from a different team,
right?
Seeing how we're doing things. So, I mean, we get in our little bubble, and yeah, it's easy to be critical, but sometimes it's nice to get an outside perspective.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we have a few other things we want to talk about this evening as we're sitting here. I was going to pull up some YouTube comments, but right now the majority of them are about your hair and beard. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but you can go look at those comments later. But I think the main thing is Matt's hair's on point.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.
And Cole says the dude is a specimen. So there's a lot of really good
Man,
People ask about what kind of
what?
products you use. There's a lot going in the chat right now.
Let's keep going. Let's I haven't been feeling all that well.
I'll let
this
you
week.
scroll. I'll let you scroll through that after the show. You can enjoy that in your own private moments, just to see what people are saying about it. But we'll move on from that. But no, so we wanted to jump over next, I believe, to talk a little bit about Dean Smith had his press conference today.
Yeah.
Some exciting news came out of that, or interesting news came out of that, I should say. And I believe somebody accidentally sent the link to one David Gussler.
I don't know how he got it.
He managed to crash that Zoom call and get in there and do that. And I supposedly asked some questions, but I didn't actually get a chance to watch it. And I haven't watched the whole recording yet. So I'll play the more asking you questions. I've seen a little bit of kind of the news that came out of it. But what were your takeaways from the press conference today as they're down there and training and going after the first couple weeks of training?
Well, first we're gonna try to attend these now. I mean, we've had access for a long time, just with our jobs, we're not able to do it. But Gussler had some time, and I think we're gonna conquer and divide. And he did a great job actually of live tweeting it. There's no way I could have done that without a billion typos. And what I really liked is he gave credit to people who were asking the question. I get so tired of people posting stuff as if they're the one doing it. I like giving credit where credit is due. And I just want to say really quickly, I think we're all super blessed with having all these podcasters and show creators able to join these pressers and ask questions instead of it being always from the Charlotte Observer. And I mean, let's face it, they don't give a crap half the time. So I won't go down too far that rabbit hole, but
no comment for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just really, really nice. But I think as far as the press conference goes, I think I see a huge difference in the answers. I think I see a huge difference in the openness of it and just the positiveness of everything. I think Lattanzio, especially towards the end, was just so cut off and guarded. And we've said on the show a couple of times, I'm like, every time he says something, my blood boils. It's the exact opposite of what he should be saying. But I've really enjoyed what I've heard so far, and especially today too. If you want to get into some specific questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we want to get into specific stuff, I mean, what was kind of your? I know I feel like the little bit I got to watch was just kind of people asking about these first couple weeks of training. What is we seeing? I enjoyed him laughing at the word scrimmage. Was one of my favorite moments of what I got to see. But yeah, what were some of your major takeaways from what he said about what he's seen so far on the field?
Yeah, well, Carol Walton asked, I think she said, Ashley said that you want to play with more speed. Can you kind of add to that? And his answer was, I like to see more speed and pace. Someone like Brant can run all day long, yada, yada, yada. Defenders don't like pace. So that was kind of a big thing for me, is that I always said we dick around with the ball in the back. So I want to see us get the ball and go forward. And I put this in Slack. I think it's interesting that he did mention Brant, because, Brant kind of evokes certain emotions with people. They either really like him or really don't. But it's interesting that he called him out. That I think we've had 3 coaches now that might be a little surprised at how good he does. But overall, I think we need to attack with pace. We need to get the ball up the field quicker instead of just messing around. So that was one that I really, really, really liked. And there were a couple of other ones, of course. If you want to get into some more, Gussler asked, what do you expect to see over the next month before the home opener? And Dean was saying, just get fitter, get the basics right, focus on the basics, which is key. The detail you put on a pass, the pressure you put on yourself, first touches, position runs, etc. I just feel like we lacked some basics last year too, fundamental stuff. But what was the quote that he said that I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing? Yeah, I've got it right here. He says, hold on. No, so David asked, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read this.
You're good.
Well, what's kind of the biggest things that you've learned about the team so far? And Dean was like, speak slower. Sometimes they get lost, which I thought was funny. He said he smiles at his own sayings, and like, the players kind of like looking at him weird. But Dean says he has two sayings really. Don't make a good chance better, which I absolutely love.
Gosh.
Because
that is something our team needs to hear so badly.
Yes. And excuses are really good planned out lives. Excuses are really good planned out lies. I love those two quotes, but that first one, I think, just hits the nail on the head. Like,
yeah,
our players would have a chance to shoot. They didn't. They just trying to walk the ball in, and it's infuriating. So I just really positive stuff. I'm so excited that we have a coach that can articulate, and I think it's just going to be so good for the squad and for the fans.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, what a little bit I saw come out of it, I'll pull up this comment from CLTFC Fan TV was being like, while he was positive, you could tell he still thinks the squad needs some work. There's pieces missing. I feel like that's part of what he said. So if you can elaborate a little bit on what he kind of said around, I know we're going to talk about a specific player in a little bit here, but as far as the general squad and what he felt like was lacking and what he's looking for there.
Yeah, and also too, we referenced Joe LeBou. Jose did. If you hadn't yet, go to CLT Fan TV and watch their interview with Joe, which was really, really good, by the way. So shout out to them.
Yep. Did he say more about kind of what he's looking for in the squad? Any kind of specific pieces or positions, or did he get into that more? Or is it more kind of general? Like, I think we have some missing pieces.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of basic boilerplate response.
Yeah.
He did mention like a left-footed center back, I think, which that makes sense to have a more balanced back line. We'll get into the roster build in a little bit, but it is very interesting to see who's going to be Milanda's center back pairing. Will that be Carujo or Bill? But to Dean's point, like, we need somebody that's really good with their left foot. So we'll see how that all comes about. But because I think we definitely need some other positions filled, and some other breaking news that Brandon Cambridge had surgery on his right ankle. So that's another winger that we're down. So
I'll throw this in here. Cole says the comment on Patrick was very telling as well.
I think everybody just loves Patrick. I mean, how do you not like that dude? He's tall, he's nice, he's awesome, and like, you just want to see him do well. And I think he just needs more minutes. Yeah,
absolutely,
great.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the news that I also saw that came out of it was what Dean Smith said about Jozwiak. What can you tell me a little more about what he said about him there, and his role or lack of role in the squad going forward?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, I mean, he's not with the squad, and one of the reasons why I say stop freaking out is everybody was freaking out about Kamil Jozwiak and what we could do and not do. And one of the things I wanted to talk about real quick, because kind of this is now a moot point because he's clearly going to be moved on. So if you'll indulge me a little bit, Corey, I'm going to go down a little rabbit hole here.
Do it.
So people were stressing out over his contract and just very flippantly saying, oh, we could just pay him down. I don't understand why we're not paying him down. And I think there's some misconceptions there. So first, yes, you can pay him down, but it was going to take a lot of money, and it's really expensive. Uncle Tepper can't just come in with extra outside money and say, this sucks. This didn't work out. Here's some extra money to pay down Kamil's contract. I mean, you have to, you have general allocation money and you have targeted allocation money. And you have to use those mechanisms, and there's only a certain amount that you have. That's why you see teams trading literally players for GAM or TAM so they can make these types of roster rules. GAM is used to pay down salary cap of like a non DP down to the league minimum, where I think TAM is used more towards designated players. It's all kind of very confusing, but the gist of it is Tepper can't put in outside money to pay this down. It is what it is. We have a certain amount that we can work with. It just was not going to be beneficial to pay that much GAM or TAM that we have wasted on Kamil to pay him down. I think the key and goal was to always move him. So, and it looks like we are. He's not with the team. From my understanding, I'm hearing rumblings of like there's deals there. I think Kamil and his agent are probably shopping around a little bit, but there's deals there. I think it's pretty much done deal. Like, I think it's just a matter of time. So,
Yeah, I mean that's the vibe I get as well too. I mean at this point,
Yeah.
even if it's not being explicitly said, him not being there, and what I saw again, kind of as far as what he said about everything, I think that makes sense, and I think it's at this point it's probably for the best as far as where things are going. I'm going to struggle to find the quote. I did see a quote that came from the press conference that I was mentioning, just beyond just Jozwiak, his quote about just the DPs in general, including Carroll and Enzo, and his quote was something along the lines of, you know, what quote I'm getting ready to say. You have a face already, so we'll see what your reaction was to this. But again, I didn't actually hear it in the context of what he was talking about, but he said they are not the DPs I chose, so they have to prove to me that they are valuable to me and can play at the highest level. And then he added, like, so far I've seen they have the willingness to do that. But I think it was an interesting perspective of him coming in being like, yeah, they might be DPs, but we gotta figure this out.
What always happens, and this is the thing that kind of drives me nuts. I saw Andrew Wiebe latch on to that first part from, I think Caleb Adams tweeted this out. And all you're getting is that sentence. And Andrew Wiebe's like, I've read this first sentence, 50 times. I'm like, of course you did. And that's what you're going to like. And that's what everybody latches on to. Dean is not saying, well, I wouldn't have chosen these DPs. That's not what he's saying. He goes, I did not choose them. They now have to prove to me that they're going to be on the field. There's nothing crazy about this. Let's please don't read into this and like make a big deal out of it. He's just basically saying, and what he should say, they have to prove themselves. It doesn't matter. I didn't go out and sign them, so they just have to prove themselves. There's nothing to this where he doesn't like Capetti or he doesn't like Swiderski or think the front office is crazy. So please don't go on social media and post stuff like that. I'm begging you, please don't.
I wish people would listen to you, but we'll see.
They don't. No one listens to me.
I'm going to jump around. This is what happens when you put me in control of things. I know we had some questions from ahead of the show, and this one's from Russell Varner, and I'm assuming he's talking about this news that we're talking about right now, unless you think I'm wrong in posting this up here. But saying, does the timing of the announcement today worry or concern you at all, since it's mid-transfer window and a month before the start of the season? I'm assuming this is Jozwiak news, or is he talking about something else?
I think he's talking about the assistant coach.
The assistant coach. Okay.
Yeah, I think the timing of the announcement today, which
that would be that announced.
One. Yeah.
Yep.
And Russell, if you're on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what he's meaning. And no, I don't think this is a concern at all. The scouts have scouted these players. Dean has a firm grasp. Now Miles is going to be able to come in, assess, help, and start building. This is nothing but a good thing. I don't have concerns at all. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. This is what I get for jumping around. You're going
to let
me co-host the show anymore.
Oh, by the way, everybody, if you're watching, please like this video on YouTube and subscribe. It really helps. As you've probably seen, we're putting out different content, new content, not just podcast stuff. So we want to kind of expand this and do a lot of big things this year. So it helps. So even if you like the video, and I want to know, Corey, is Chico in the comments anywhere? Is he? Can you see it?
I don't see him.
Chico said he was going to get on, but
I don't see. I could be missing him, but I don't see him.
He lies to me a lot. So.
All right. Well, I know we talked about specifically one player, but let's take a look just in general about the current roster, where things stand, and the biggest need. So I'll just throw the question at you, kind of looking at what we have right now, and as we get closer to the start of the season, where do you see the biggest need? What maybe doesn't worry you, but where are you seeing the biggest issues that we need to try to get solved?
Yeah, another thing that I think some people were freaking out about, and I tried to post this in Slack. You can have like a 32-man roster, and people were freaking out that we've lost some players, and that's true. We've lost Derek Jones, Mackenzie Gaines, Harrison Awful, and it's not official, but basically Justin Miram. So that's 4 players, but the thing is that we have all these legacy people that are going to be moving up to take some of those spots. And this is not including, and like I didn't include this in the list the other day, like I'm not factoring in players like Scardinha, Romero, Neely, Berchimas, and totally forgot about our super draft guys in that list too. So, but I say that now with the news that just happened with Brandon Cambridge. So, I mean, I think even before he had the surgery, we definitely needed a winger on the right-hand side, especially with Kamil leaving, Gaines gone. So that's to me is an immediate need. I think maybe Tiger Small, somebody maybe do some research real quick and let me know if he can play on the right or left. He can fill in there. But I'm really interested to see how we utilize Swiderski and Capetti, like where they're going to sit. Ben Bender is also injured, and he's going to be out for a while. I was kind of interested to see if maybe he was going to play out wide or something. I don't know. So to me, you got to go get some wingers pretty quickly. That would be my thing. But as far as like freaking out about the rosters, I think we're in a good space. You know, we just talked about Jose about this pipeline, and we're already seeing the benefits of that because we're gonna promote a couple players this year.
Yeah. Two things that I was thinking about is one, I feel like if I'm remembering correctly, this time last year when we were talking about the upcoming season, we were talking about just the slew of wingers we had, and now it was like we had almost too many. And like, who do we play? And now here we are a year later, and it's like we're badly in need of people in this position. It's just interesting how that changes. And I will admit that, just kind of my perspective, I was starting to get a little worried, and people I talked to were getting worried about like, why are we not making any moves? Like, why isn't anything happening? And so I get that perspective of it, but yeah, you and Jose make a good point about just seeing the development from growing these players up. Maybe we're not making the big signings. There's a lot of moves happening. We're building a pipeline that's more important for the long-term growth and health of the team versus just bringing in a splashy signing here and there.
Yeah, I mean, and you always will need to bring outside players and sign who you can. And I people love big name signings, and I do too. But I think to get this franchise into a good spot like a Seattle Sounders or even the Union, you have to have this pipeline. So you're not going out in the market and overspending, and you're bringing players that are already bought into the system that love the Carolinas. So I think it's just going to be beneficial to do that. So again, there'll be some more moves, so don't worry about that. I look back at Yeri, who we got it literally at the very last minute, and which was a wonderful signing. So things happen, guys. Like, and this is the third year now, so I'm kind of trying to figure out why everybody's getting surprised by these things. I don't quite understand it. Like it's gonna happen, man. Just let them cook, man.
Who just keeps hoping something will change. I'll pull up a couple of comments here from the YouTube side.
Yeah, like I get it. Yeah.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
All right.
No. I think I was lagging a little bit, so I think I'll cut you off there. Go ahead.
All right. We'll power through. Pull up a couple comments here from the YouTube comments. We got Westwood T Gang always on here, saying if we can get a great winger opposite Kerwin and he continues his late season form, we will look pretty good up top. Totally agree with that. Vargas was one of the things I'm really excited about with the end of last year. So would love to see that happen. And then Defend the Queen here asks if Carroll and Enzo share the top, can they coexist in peace?
Yeah, good question. I think you're going to see a big shift in personality and just the way people are going to interact with one another. That's kind of the vibe I'm already getting, and what I'm hearing rumblings of is like the atmosphere is a lot better. Enzo now has another kind of year under him. He's with the team more. I think he had a lot going on, had a kid. I think the more, it looks like Swiderski's going to be here. So you kind of like, all right, I'm going to be here. So we need to get along. Because there was no doubt there was some friction there. You could see it on the field. And not that they won't bark at each other now and then, but I think you're going to see, especially with this coach, I think you're going to see everybody get along a little better. And I think you're going to see a happier locker room in general.
Gosh, I hope so. I will add on here. Greg mentioned that he thought thought maybe Dino said that they wouldn't both play up top. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was accurate or not to what he was said today.
Yeah,
Or
I
previously.
don't. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see like a 4-4-2 type of thing
Yeah.
with them up top together. But he was kind of alluding to like, yeah, we got to get them on the field at the same time. But that's been like the whole question the whole time. It's
Right.
like how do you get them on the field at the same time? And it might be that maybe you don't, and one of them has to prove themselves, and one comes off the bench and one starts. So
that'll be interesting. And I think that, yeah, I really hope that it's a better situation than it was last season, because that was it felt like the constant struggle of last season was how to get those two both engaged in the right way to play together.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. All right. So let me pull up. I'll pull this up from Elliot real quick. He says, if you release the new kit, the freaking out stops immediately, at least for a few days, which is very true.
So one of the things that drives me nuts too is like, when's the new kit coming out? God, how come I'm like, it comes out the same time every single year. Just go look it up before you rage.
I don't have patience.
That's the thing,
Matt.
I am the most impatient person outside of like, I think soccer. Like my wife was like, you're like the most impatient person I know. But like with soccer, maybe that's what calms me. But
yeah, there you go. David, like I said, he is
involved. Oh, he's on.
He couldn't join us, but he's in the comments. He said he noticed that Matt Swift's name says "Stop freaking out," but he asked,
David,
"But what if I want to freak out?"
David, I'm gonna get Prozac for David. He freaks out. He freaks out all the time. I'm gonna give him Prozac and a corn dog, and I think that will.
You can hide the Prozac in the corn dog, so he doesn't even know he's taking it, like you do with. That's terrible. I'm not gonna continue that thought.
David, where are you, by the way? Are you in Orlando? Where are you? Tell us where you are.
I'll wait for him to answer. He's just laughing at us right now.
I still want to know if Chico is on this freaking thing or not. I'm so mad. I'm gonna text him. Go ahead, Corey.
All right. David said he's in Atlanta to close the loop on where David is. So
where did I get Orlando from?
I have no clue. Well, I didn't know where he was, so you're better off guessing something I did. But to continue the freaking out theme of this part of the show, we'll dive into the listener questions a little bit here. Which the first one is from Russell Varner, and I'm gonna ask it at the correct time this time. But what's the best advice you can give to people who are freaking out about the lack of outside signings from the team? And at what point do you start to worry? So you're telling people not to worry now, but is there a point where you start to be like, okay, this is becoming a problem. Maybe we should start to worry a little bit.
When the window closes and we haven't signed anybody, then you can worry and get mad. But literally, like do people follow other teams and other sports at all? Like this happens to literally every single team in every single sport. Most of these signings come down to like the last week, the last days, the last minutes. It happens on every single team. Yes, sometimes teams announce something pretty early, and I think that's what starts getting everybody all upset. But like, yeah, I will freak out when the window closes and we haven't signed anybody. That's when I'll get mad, and that's when I'll come in here and rant and rave and be derogatory towards the team. But just let it play out. It'll be fine.
All right, we're gonna hold you to that. We're gonna bring this back if we need to at a later point. All right.
Well,
so
Chico is on.
Is he?
Yeah. Hey Chico, how are you doing? First, I think this is like the second time he's ever listened to a show.
Thank you, Chico. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep diving into these listener questions if you're good with that.
Yeah.
The next one I'll pull up is from Paul Hagen. It's the fans in the front office seem optimistic / excited about Dino's appointment. Have any of the players given any reaction? I really like this last sentence. I'm not gonna put an accent on it, but I want to. I assume Westy was chuffed to bits on hearing about it, but wondering if any of our insiders, cough cough Swift, has heard any actual comments from the squad.
What does chuffed mean? I imagine that means pumped or.
I think so. I actually don't know. I think it means like excited.
Chantry would know. That's a Chantry.
Yeah, can you translate that for us, please? Chantry, I'll pull it up on the comment once you let us know what that means.
Yeah, from everything that I've heard from literally everybody, the atmosphere is a lot better. He's a lot more personable. The players like him. I think Dean's the type of coach that he's going to put his arm around a player and comfort them and teach them and guide them. What was the video? He was like, "Go out there and enjoy your football.
Mm-hmm.
Go have fun." Like I really appreciate that. I think there were a lot of players that didn't feel the love, I guess. So it's just a nice change.
Yeah, absolutely. Confirmation chuffed means pretty happy, so that's good.
Okay.
So we were right on point there. Thank you.
I've never heard that one.
Yeah, I've heard it, but I didn't know what it meant. So we'll hide that here too. So yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what I've noticed too. You touched on it earlier. It's been refreshing to hear the way he talks and to see the videos and to see the way he interacts with the team. It's just it's very refreshing from what we've had. So I'm hoping that carries on. Yeah. So let's hop on to our next one, which comes from Eric Hill. We have 6 games before the end of March. New York City FC, who we have not lost to, followed by 2 away games in Canada and at Nashville before coming home for the back-to-back Ohio visitors. What is the minimum you need to see in those 6 games to be optimistic the team is an improvement over last year?
Yeah, good question. I think improvement is style of play. If we lose, let's lose going forward. Let's lose, having 20 shots on goal, like that type of thing. Like I'm good with that if we're going to lose. Losing just possessing the ball just for the sake of it, I don't want to see that anymore. I'm not going to put points like, we have to have this many points by this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a tough start, man, to the season, no doubt. But I think just the style of play is what I'm really looking for in that change there. And I'm just really interested to see what that starting 11 is going to look like that first game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And yeah, it's it's a tough schedule, but it's also, I mean, it's a transition. It's a new coach. Like that's always going to come with some bumps. I'm less concerned about what the actual record is or how many points we come out of at that point. It's like, how does the team look? How is it playing together? Do we have a fairly consistent starting lineup that doesn't have very weird selections in it, like little things like that, to see how things start out. And that's what I'm more looking at as far as that versus points. So now, just because I have to keep you updated on the YouTube chat, the Chuffed has taken over the comments here.
I like it.
So we've got people making other definitions of chuffed being the past tense of chafed. So I think that's not true, but I like it. And then we've got we got Westwood T Gang coming back and saying, pretty happy is about as emotional as British people get. Usually when there's beer, pies, and pastries involved. So
nice.
We gotta love that.
I like it.
All right. We'll jump into our next question here. From Kate. What matchup are you most excited to see this season that isn't CLTFC versus Inter Messi?
Well, I think 2 for me that stand out. One is that, of course, that first game, because again, like, what's the style of play going to be? What's that starting 11? I think that's going to be very telling. And then the other one is, I just personally, I want to go to Austin and watch that game, and just so I would say those 2.
I'm gonna seem so lame by copying yours. That's literally what I had in mind too. That's the away game we're eyeing right now. As I was really excited to go down to that one. I've never been to Austin. I was hoping to get down there and do that. My only problem was the timing of some of these games. So the other ones we were looking at as far as interested in doing the road game were some of the Canadian games, because I've never been to Canada. It'd be fun to like go to Vancouver or something like that. Yeah. But those are all happening very early in the season, and I'm not trying to be that cold. And like March is not the time to go to Canada, I don't think. So
no.
But then Austin happens in July, and that also sounds terrible. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what do I want to do for my health and body to not be miserable watching a match. So we're still trying to figure it out. But Austin looked pretty exciting to me as well. All right.
You guys keep asking questions in the comments and everything too. Bring them on.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll jump to one of the comments as you mentioned that. We'll pull this one up here from C&M's Garage.
Oh, cool.
I don't know.
What is
I don't
that?
know
Is that monster trucks in that little
we gotta-
photo?
I
Cool.
have a lot of questions on what's happening here. It's very cool, though. All right, but the question is, if we don't sign anyone before the first match, what's the starting lineup?
Oh, I think
Can you
I
do this
put
off the top of your head? Yeah.
I
go for
kind of put it together earlier today, and I want to say, God, you got Enzo, Swiderski, Vargas, Dahare, Westwood. I don't know who's the right wing now. It was Brandon. And then you've got Yuri. I'm going to say Bill. I know that's going to freak everybody out, but I think Bill's going to have a lot better season this year.
Yeah.
Malanda and then Jalen Lindsay. I think
Okay.
Jalen Lindsay under Dean Smith is going to be really good. And Kalina.
Yeah.
But big question mark on the right wing now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge one. All right, so we'll move that out of the way. So it's hard to host and do producer roles. I'm just going to point that out right now. I'm having to do a lot of clicking and looking around the screen like I'm not engaged, but there's a lot happening over here.
You're doing great, and thank God it's not me because it would be a catastrophe.
All right, so we'll hop back to our pre-questions we had. Let's I was possibly going to jump around. Let me jump around to one. I'm going to pull up actually the question from someone named David Gussler sent this question in ahead of time, which is, with Cambridge now sidelined with an injury, Bender hurt as well, Kamil being shopped, we now only have 1 to 2 healthy true wingers on the roster. What do you expect the team to do in the next 30 days to fill up the roster? So we've touched on this a little bit, but do you have any specific thoughts about where you expect them to go for that role?
It could a couple things, and people are going to freak out on one of these. So 1, go sign someone immediately.
Yeah.
2, use a player that you have right now, or a super draft player, someone from Crown Legacy, or makeshift right winger for now. Get to the summer window when the rest of the league and world are off and the pool is a lot more open.
Mm-hmm.
Then go and get like somebody big then. So worst case scenario, we have to make due to the summer window. But don't think the sky is falling. We could be perfectly fine like that. But I do think they have to go sign somebody now. That could be somebody from within MLS. So
yeah. They just need somebody in that role. Absolutely. Yeah. I'll go back to the comments a little bit because there's a few different things. So follow up from the C&M's Garage. What's the formation that you just named for that lineup?
Yeah, I like to have somebody right in front of the back four. So like kind of Westy in that pivot role, and maybe 3 in front of him, and then maybe 3 at the top. I don't know. Swiderski's that wild card. I don't know where to exactly line him up. So I can't give you an exact formation, and some of the formations are fluid anyway once you get on the field. So
right, yeah, absolutely. And here we go. He's in the comments now.
There he is. There he is. Yeah, that the plan is to go with Chico Lamorte to Austin and hang out with him. Unfortunately.
Yes. Chico's in the comments now, so it's good to have him in there.
Look at that photo too. Look at that great photo.
These photos, I need to upgrade my YouTube photos based on these guys. Let's see. I'm gonna pull some of these up from the chat. We got some good ones coming in here. So let's pull up Greg's. Where does Privet fit into Dean's system? Since he had such a great season filling in last year for us, which felt like to me, even probably to a lot of people, like the biggest surprise of last season is how he came in and played how he did given the circumstances.
Really good question. Great is suggestive. Or subjective, not suggestive.
I think great's fair given like what he was asked to do. Like if he was a different player that was, had played that role professionally before. Maybe not great is the word you use, but given the situation he was put into, I think great is fairly accurate.
When I was kind of looking at the lineup and formation and everything like that, and trying to figure out where Privet fits in, I think it's going to be on him to really impress Dean. Is he another cog in the midfield? Is he a backup center back? I just don't think you want to go into another year where he's your center back option. Now, we're going to play differently. You're not going to see Privet driving up to the middle and leaving Malanda dead in the back. And for all you people that give Malanda a hard time, it's probably because he's like back by himself and having to run back to the goal 80,000 times a game and cover for our stupid strategy.
That he hasn't gotten a lot of help back there. He's
none,
been on an island.
None. I guarantee you, if Malanda has a good year this year, he's going to be sold for a lot of money somewhere else. But anyway, back to Privet. I think it's just going to be a matter of where Dean sees him best. Is it in the middle? Is it in the back? I don't see Privet starting this year, and that's okay. I think he was playing out of position and kind of forced in, and he did a good job, like you were saying, Corey, based on what he had to do. Poor guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of fits in this thing.
Yep, definitely. All right, I'm going to come through a couple more things here. A lot of people talking about the winger position. We have Oz here on Twitter. I'm not going to say what it's actually called now. Saying, what are the odds of Merrim coming back with us being so thin at wing? 0. That's what I thought the answer was going to be.
Yeah, Merrim is gone. I think they were trying to negotiate a contract, and I think just the way, back to kind of like GAM, TAM, what we have in roster space. Well, and then Brandon has surgery. I don't know. I just don't. I would place it at, maybe 5% now coming back.
5%. There you go.
Yeah.
A couple other opinions on how to manage the wing situation more. So we have Jonathan Dunn on here saying, have Jalen attack more on the right and let the defensive midfielder cover that area a little more. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I think you're going to see both left and right backs play a little different this year and overlap more, which, brilliant concept, I think. So yeah, I think you're going to see that. That's why I was saying too. I think Jalen's going to do really well under Dean.
Yep. Agreed. Yep. And good for him. I'm glad he'll have an opportunity to.
It'll be a good reset for Jalen for sure.
Yep. So for the things in the lineup, David chimed in saying he assumes Carroll goes to right wing now with injuries. Vargas to left wing, Enzo up top, Brecht, Cam, Brandt, Westwood at midfield. So it's similar. I feel like that's similar to what you had kind of said as your lineup. If the squad stays exactly as it is right now, we don't get an actual winger in that spot.
I think so. Yeah.
Here we go. Got Lamuerte back. Matt, do you miss Rios?
I did last season. Because the thing is like we didn't have anybody up top that could bring the ball down with any type of control. Like I was pretty critical of Enzo. I felt like he had bricks for feet. Like he would try to bring the ball down and mistouch it. Rios was really good at that, with back to his goal, bring the ball down, able to lay it off to Swiderski. So a little bit, but I think it was time to. I know Chico really loves Rios. So.
Yeah. All right, let me hop back over to some of our pre-planned questions here. Let's get into from Jake Carpenter. What do you think or hope will be the biggest observable in-game improvement between year 2 and year 3?
We talked about this a little bit. What I want to see is less working the ball around the sides and out to the wings and then back around. I want to see more playing through the channels. I also want to, we just talked about Danny Rios. I want to see some balls over the top to mix it up too. But I really want to see our center midfielders come get the ball, turn and move forward and dribble forward and get forward. I just think like they would get the ball back to, our attacking goal and then off to the side, back again. It was very, We just weren't getting in good spots and stuff. So that's what I'd like to see.
Yep.
And subs
I like
that makes sense.
I feel like the bar is surprisingly low for what we're wanting to see. Just gonna throw it out there. I feel like we're not asking a lot. We're asking for some fairly low level stuff here. All right. I feel like we touched on some things a little bit, but Russell was busy in the Slack asking some questions today. So I'm gonna pull up another one from him. What do you expect from Capelli in year 2? Will Dean Smith be able to get the most from him?
Maybe I'm being optimistic here, but I think you're going to see less flopping, less chirping at the ref. I think you're going to see a happier Capelli. I think he's probably adjusted a little more to the league. You know, if I kind of look at Swiderski too, that first year he was very, you know, I don't know, kind of a brat in a way. So I think you're going to just see a better Capelli. I hope he actually will score some goals. I hope that he can control the ball better. There was some concerns there. And start getting some like poaching type goals, right? Like getting the box, getting 6-yard box, cause havoc, toe poke some things in. I want to see some of that going on.
Yeah, I know when we recorded in person last time, there's a lot of negativity around Capelli.
Yeah, so you know, they're my buddy Steven and I don't think Donnie really piled on, but Steven's not
Steven,
a huge
it was mostly Steven. But I am maybe naively optimistic about Capelli this season. I'm just truly hopeful that a year under his belt here, a little bit of a calmer preseason coming into the season, a new coaching situation, allowing him to settle in a little more. We'll see who we thought we were going to get when we signed him last year. I don't know. I mean, I haven't seen anything that's going to like guarantees it's going to happen, but that's my very optimistic hope is that we see that finally get unlocked somehow this year.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. I'm just bouncing around some of the questions we have. All right. Let's get to one more strictly soccer question before we have some other questions I want to get to. From Terry here. Thoughts on the Open Cup debate?
Oh, buckle up, baby.
Do you have some thoughts? Do I need to put you on the solo views? People just see you while you do your monologue.
Oh God,
here?
please don't. That'd be horrible. And people are gonna be so unbelievably mad at me about this. But
are you gonna say what I think you're gonna say?
I might. So
geez.
let me just talk this through and everybody please comment. Let me know what you think. So I've kind of gone back and forth on this. As much as I love like the history and all that, I gotta be honest. Like I get tired of seeing MLS teams win this thing. For me, I almost would like for this tournament to just highlight lower level teams. I want to see Appalachian FC on TV play. It will expose more people to these teams. And again, like every single year, an MLS team wins. It's another game for them. They usually rolled out their B teams during the first couple rounds. And this is what people are really going to hate. It cost MLS teams a lot of money to play these games. I know no one wants to hear that. I get it. But like, I think it cost Charlotte FC like a couple $100,000 to go to Birmingham and play. And they lost. So it's like, there's no incentive there. And I get it. It's not all about the money, but sometimes it needs to be about the money. Like people here in the US, there's a huge Mexican fan base, right? And so they want to see Liga MX teams. And so you saw it when we hosted a game. There was a shit ton of people there. When we played at the Sportsplex, I don't know that there were 7,000 people there. So the teams are not making any money. People are not coming to these games. It's always MLS teams winning these things. I think if we want to grow like the lower leagues, I want to see those teams winning a tournament. And maybe there's something fun like, what is it? The Shield, what is it? The Community Shield in EPL? Like maybe the winner of US Open Cup plays the winner of MLS Cup or plays the Supporter Shield winner of whatever conference. I want to see something kind of cool like that. I mean, I don't know. I just think that like if we're talking about promotion relegation, we need some of these lower level teams to get exposure. And I'm kind of going back to I'm sure people are crucifying me in the comments, but like here's the thing. If owner and our MLS owner is going to make money off this stuff, absolutely. Get over it. Like you need them to, because here's why. If people start seeing that having a MLS team or even a lower league team is going to make them money, more people will buy teams. More people will create teams. More people will rebuild teams. That's how you get promotion relegation. So for me, like I love Open Cup and on the surface, yes, I would love MLS to be in the tournament. But kind of looking at this differently, I get tired of seeing MLS teams win it. What's the point? It's boring. It's boring. What's cool is watching these lower league teams like battle it out. That's what I want to see. So I'm sure no one agrees with me, but that's kind of where we're.
I guess let me first of all the boo this man. David says we need to put the boo this man GIF in towards Swift. And if you have egg on your house tonight, I think you can blame. Did we ever figure out how to pronounce this last time when we had this person? Brown sugar me please, I think is what it is.
David Gussler could not do it and save his life. Brown sugar me please.
So blame the garden gnome for egging your house if you wake up in the morning and see some there.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be if your goal is to give some exposure to these lower level teams, right? Like you want to see them have their moments. My worry would be is if you take MLS out of it, then there's no interest in the tournament in general, right? Like the reason people, more casual fans might watch these matches is because their MLS team is playing in it or because it's on TV. I find it hard to believe that like a final between two lower level teams might get that same exposure. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm saying this right.
No,
but I think the exposure comes from those lower level teams getting a chance to play the MLS squads, even if it's a B team. It doesn't matter. Like it's the fact that you're seeing Appalachian FC playing Charlotte FC, if that ever happened. Like if that's what causes that excitement around it. And I think if you take MLS out of it, or even just making it MLS Next Pro, you lose some of that, and that those teams aren't getting the exposure that they would if it was as it currently was.
This is going to make everybody mad because everybody wants to romanticize everything.
Yeah, I'm the idealist. Yeah,
people do not show up for these games. I'm sorry, everybody, they don't. Look at the attendance. It's not on TV. Our own fans didn't show up to the Open Cup game. We didn't sell it out. I don't want to hear it. Like, say what you want. Be romantic about it. Like, I get it's an awesome tournament. It's a tradition. But, like, no one's marketing this thing. No one's buying into it. But we do have a huge fan base from Mexico, and that they want to see these teams. And it just, I don't know. I think I want to see more marketing for lower level teams anyway. So like for this tournament, the Open Cup, like I would love for it to be on Apple TV. I'd love for it to be on ESPN, but it's not. So who's watching it? And that's the sickos like us are watching it because we will watch anything. But if we're talking about raising the game, like I don't know. So I get why everybody's mad. Trust me. I guess I'm more playing devil's advocate than anything else. Because of course I want the MLS to be an Open Cup. At the same time, You're asking MLS teams to carry the whole entire burden, pay for it all, do everything, and they're getting nothing. They're literally getting nothing out of it. What do they get out of it?
Right. Exposure. No, I'm just kidding. I would agree with you that I'm just totally joking. I've seen a lot of things on social media about getting paid in exposure recently, so that was in my head. But I guess my hope would be what you were just saying is that I would like to see more energy and effort and money or whatever it is put behind the US Open Cup in general. Because the way it is right now, you're right. It doesn't have what it needs from a marketing or broadcast or whatever money perspective to be what it could be. I think if someone, I don't know who that would be or how that would work, but if someone really took it and put it on Apple TV or put it on something where it was all we're going to be broadcast, and they figured out a better way to put some real power behind this thing, then it does have those effects that we were talking about, where you get to see those lower league teams. Yeah, they benefit financially and from fans and from exposure to that thing. It becomes a much more fun event. As it stands right now, it does feel. I mean, it feels very amateurish, frankly. Like, I don't know how else to say it, but like watching those broadcasts or going to it feels very amateurish. And I hate to say this because I love the US Open Cup, but when you compared that to, like you said, the Leagues Cup and what was put into that and all the effort and the marketing and the branding and all the things that went into that, it's a very different type of tournament, obviously, but it was a stark difference in seeing those two tournaments and where the effort was put in.
Yeah, and it's a shame, right? And I hate it. And I go back to everybody hates millionaires and billionaires, but like, and again, I get it shouldn't always be about money, but this league is not as like financially well off as I think what people think. And deals like the Apple TV deal that I put out a video about that because people bitched about that. They bitch about Adidas. I'm like, you have to have people invest in your league. And, Apple TV has this hub that's specifically for MLS now, but everybody's complaining about it. But they also invested, I think, $2 billion into the league. And again, will owners get paid? Yes. Will they get richer? Yes. But again, that's going to attract other people like a David Tepper who moves down to Charlotte. Like, this could be a good investment. I'm going to create a team that's not around yet. But we need that at kind of like a lower level too. So the more, I just think it's beneficial for the league and teams to make money, especially MLS, the way they're structured. So you're asking a league and you're asking teams like a Real Salt Lake that doesn't make a ton of money. You're asking them like, hey, go spend a couple $100,000 to go travel here and play. You're going to get nothing for it. Cool. Yeah. Sign me up.
Now, I get what you're coming from that perspective. I guess like you said, the idealist in me would like to see, rather than MLS being just like, we're not doing that, would rather say like work with US soccer in some way, be like, how do we make this bigger, better, more sustainable? Yeah. And make it what it should be as the game is growing in the US. Like that's, and maybe they've already, I don't know like what happened behind the scenes. Maybe they were trying that and it wasn't working out. So they finally said, okay, we can't do it if we're not going to figure this out. But like, I would rather them do some work with US soccer to try to figure it out rather than just being like, nah, we're not playing. We're out of this.
Yeah. And I think, and this could change now because they've taken a hit for it for sure. And I think they're like, no, you can't field a MLS Next Pro team. That's not how that's going to work. And you have to do this. And that was kind of the other thing too. I was like, it might actually kind of be cool to see some our Crown Legacy play against Appalachian FC or
sure, why not both?
But they did they threw it in there. MLS did like, we're not going to play this year, but we might next year.
Yeah, they left. Yeah,
I'm like, come
vague
on,
there. Yeah,
but ideally, Corey, like to what you were saying, that is the ideal situation.
Right.
Somebody needs to, like an Apple TV that everybody's bitching about, like somebody like that needs to. I just get so sick and tired of everybody bitching. somebody like that though needs to step up and say, "Hey, we'll take Open Cup. We're gonna make this a thing. We're gonna do some marketing, production, because it's a cool tournament."
Yeah.
And I love watching these like lower level teams, but I'm a sicko. Of course, I like watching anything.
Chico had to leave. He said he was leaving, but before he left, I just wanted to go through the comments here. He said,
God,
Matt, you didn't even go to these games. Stop hating. And he said, Matt, you're not a true fan. So
I went to those games. I went with Chico to these games. One.
I'm just saying, you're gonna regret calling him out and making sure he watches the show. You'd be like, Chico, never again. Please don't watch the show anymore.
I didn't go to Birmingham. I think that was the one I didn't go to.
Oh yeah, no, I went to all the ones in Charlotte. I enjoy. We've gone on for a long time, so I'll move on. But what I enjoy about the Open Cup games being at Sportsplex, is that it's fun to see them in a small stadium, to be like have that intimate environment. I know it's really small. I get that. Like it's money and fan wise, like it's a cool environment. And two, I would hope if they're marketing it correctly, it's a way to get some families, especially who maybe have not ponied up to go to a game at Bank of America Stadium. Yeah, that maybe live out in that area more in the Union County, Matthews, like kind of that suburb area. Maybe get them to come to a match and build the fan base a little bit there. So like it can be used well. Like I do like that aspect of those games being down there. I had a lot of fun at those, but from a financial standpoint, it's a very different. When you're barely drawing 7,000 versus putting 30 plus a game in Bank of America Stadium, it's a very different proposition.
And also too, I'm hearing that if we were in Open Cup, we wouldn't play at the Sportsplex this time because they're being a little kind of being punks about us playing out there.
Of course. So, love it. All right. There's a lot going on in the comments. I don't know if I have time to get through all this.
I'm sure.
I'm going to ask one question that came in earlier that I wanted to get to from Westwood T Gang. What preseason fan events, team and Mint City Collective, are planned? Do you know of anything planned coming up preseason that's going on?
I don't know, Chantry. You tell me. Chantry's on the Mint City board. So you tell me.
Does he want to, we just need to send him the link so he can join the call here.
No, I'm sure we'll have some Mint City stuff come out. So if you're not a member yet, you should sign up. We're doing renewals and taking new members. Everybody is welcome. You'll get a newsletter and you'll know all about our events and everything. You'll get access to Slack, which is where I spend a lot of my days calming everybody down that's freaking out. It's fun times.
It's a tough but important job to do. So we appreciate your service in doing
the thing is, I don't even have to do it. I just get so like, oh my God.
It's a calling. All right. The last question that I have, unless we see something pop in the chat, comes from Roy. And it's a fun one.
Oh my God. I saw this one.
Would you rather have, let me start this again. Would you rather have an immortal, murderous sloth that always knows your location, always hunting you, or never be able to find clothes that fit properly?
I love Roy because he always throws out these fun questions. So I love that the sloth is like immortal. Like he's just he never dies.
There's a lot of adjectives and details to this one. Immortal, murderous sloth.
And for some reason he's fixated on me and somehow always knows my location. but they're so slow.
Right.
And when you say murderous, like is he gonna like choke me to death?
That was my question. Like, does he have weapons? I need to know like how equipped is this sloth?
Because the thing is, you might be asleep when he comes for you.
Right.
And they're so slow, you probably wouldn't. Man, I think the ill-fitting clothes might be the way to go. Because you're just. Here's the thing. Like, you're not like super like, oh, okay, like I'm super afraid. But you're just always going to be kind of like, where's that goddamn sloth? I'm sure, is he?
Yeah.
How close is he? You never know. Like, how, and he can hide in trees. You just never know where he is.
You can never
But he's
really
always
put your
out
guard
there.
down. Yeah. You
And
can
wait a
never really
minute,
let your guard down.
if he's immortal, you can't kill him, right?
That's the way I read that. Yeah.
So like, yeah, like you could just never. Can you like trap him and then like take him to another country and then you've got some time then. Got a couple years for him to get across the Atlantic or something, like how do you? I don't know.
No, I'm with you.
A lot of variables here.
There are. I have a lot of follow-up questions. I don't think Roy's on to where you can ask the follow-up questions, but I think I'm with you in that the constant, even if it's low-level dread and fear, it would always be there. I'd always be like, wait, where'd that sloth go? Because I'd forget about it because it was so slow that I would forget about it occasionally, and I'd have that moment where it was like, oh gosh, where's the sloth?
And like,
then,
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
No, I was like, what if we're doing a show right now and he's just slowly like in my background? Like you never know when he's gonna. Like you could be at work on a conference call and he is like coming up on you.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It's the worst.
Even
it's
the
worst.
And also as a larger, short man, most clothes don't fit me properly anyway. So this is a life. This is a life I already live. So I'm good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's just go with clothes that don't fit properly.
Clothes that don't fit. I think that's the safest bet. I think Richard Clark says in the comments, just lock him in a zoo. There you go.
Oh, but I mean, I feel like an immortal sloth could probably get his way out. But it's a good thought. Lock him in a zoo.
Yeah. We may have. I know there's a ton in the comments I didn't get to, so I apologize. I appreciate y'all being very active and commenting and asking questions. I know I missed things, but we appreciate y'all watching and joining in and commenting and asking questions and having fun with us tonight as we get back into the podcasting seats and get ready for this new season. But Matt, before we go, anything else that you wanted to talk about, mention, any shout outs, anything like that?
Yeah, well, we got to shout out our sponsor, Renegade Goalkeeping. Again, if you're watching on video, here are the Mint City Collective goalkeeping gloves. They're a fantastic sponsor. Like I said before, their owner is a MCC member, really good guy. If you can, go just, even if you're not buying anything, go follow them on social media. They have really good content. All around good company, and glad that they're partnering with us. Other than that, we've got some fun stuff that we're doing in 2024. We're going to have some merch that's dropping soon. We have the first sticker out right now. We've had that, but it's back in stock. Got that one.
Love it.
Yeah, we're going to be doing t-shirts, hats, all types of fun stuff that you probably can't get anywhere else. And you probably have seen, we've started to put out some extra content on YouTube. So like I said, subscribe so you can, get those notifications. We're doing, David's doing corn dog and card unboxing, and we're doing short little videos about kind of thoughts that we have. And they've been a huge hit. And, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok. David's corn dog video was very popular on TikTok. So.
That brings up that I forgot to ask his other question he threw out to us in chat earlier today. But I do have to say, when David said he was going to do the first live feed of him opening cards from last year, I believe, correct? They were not from from the previous year.
Yeah.
And eat a corn dog. I was like, this is insanity. And then you text me like, you've got to start watching this. And I started watching this, and I was riveted. Like
he did
such great.
I don't know what I was expecting. I didn't know what was going to happen. I was like, this could be good, this could be horrible. But David did a really, really good job of keeping up with the cards and talking, and like no really dead space, and it was impressive. Pretty entertaining to watch. He did really good. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
No, absolutely not. But he did ask us to give our ranking on fast food corn dog locations. So where do you think you get the best corn dogs? And he did give options if you want to have options. They are Sonic, Cookout, and Culver's. Do you have a ranking? I have some initial thoughts, but
it would be Cookout because I'm loyal to Mr.
Yep.
No, was it Dr. Cookout?
Dr. Cookout.
Dr. Cookout.
Esquire.
And I would say I have had a Culver's corn dog, so people have to tell me if it's good or not. So
Yeah. Now, I think my ranking would be Cookout number 1, obviously. Cookout's the greatest.
yeah.
And then second is just from my freezer, like just the good old frozen corn dogs that you like grew up eating.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
that's all you need. You just
Do
need
you put it in
Cookout
an air
and you
fryer?
need- I haven't done this yet, and now I want to. And my 6-year-old daughter really loves corn dogs too, so I think I'm need to go buy a box of corn dogs and throw them in the air fryer and make this happen soon. It'd be a
Yeah,
great bonding moment for us.
Yeah, let me know how it turns out. I've really got to do that here too. I think we have a Ninja, I think. So
There you go.
I need to try it. Yeah.
There you go. So more corn dog content coming your way, probably, because why not? Just for fun. But yeah, subscribe to all the places. Matt and David have been doing an amazing job finding different ways and types of content to get out there in front of y'all, especially as we've had a break between. No, I'm saying amazing. Great stuff coming up, and especially as we've been between larger episodes as we're getting ready for the season to start. So a lot of really cool, exciting stuff coming your way. So subscribe to all the places, get it first so you can hear it there, and give us some love and let us know what you're liking, and so we can do more of it for you. So with that, I will sign us off. Thank you, Matt, for joining us. Thank you, Jose, from earlier for joining us. That was awesome. I really appreciate him being on the show as well. And we'll see y'all next time.
See you guys.